change your mind, if you change your mind.
I was thinking of how this episode is also watched like the rest of the season, with this being the second time we witness Bismuth after her debut appearance from season 3. But the more I think about it, it really feels like that everything in this episode really feels fairly paced and thought out due to the events of A Single Pair of Roses. While Steven and the other characters are preparing for Ruby and Sapphire's wedding, Sapphire prevents any of the bubbles, mainly what's inside of them, the corrupted gems, to be at her wedding because she doesn't want to risk her wedding to be a disaster. And Steven got the knowledge of unpopping one of the bubbles while Bismuth is inside. After telling her everything, she catches on and Steven wants to do a big reveal to have Bismuth reveal herself in front of Ruby, Sapphire, and the others, but at the same time, she still has second thoughts. And judging of how that whole future is a completely different future without coming to Ruby and Sapphire's wedding, believe me, there's a lot catching up. I think that one of the problems that really bugs me the wrong way is the fact that this is the second episode where Bismuth actually appears, and later on, she doesn't do much. I mean, granted, she does contribute in the next episode by stopping Lelo and Blue Diamond, but for me personally, she should have had 1 or 2 more episodes before this. Even though that I stated that this episode isn't rushed like the rest of the season after, but believe me, I really feel like that Bismuth's appearance in this, with this being the second time we see her, makes it really feel a lot more off-putting considering of how Steven is trying to make everything right for every single character, and yet the only character that he wants to be part of Ruby and Sapphire's wedding is Bismuth. For me, what makes this episode better is mainly the pacing for how everything is structured. I can guarantee you that the things that I remember was mainly the first half of this episode and only the ending of the episode. And if it wasn't for the conversation that these two had before Bismuth revealed herself in front of the other characters, I really feel like that this episode would have been in the wash category. I feel like that the dialogue between the two actually works, and even though that this takes place right after Bismuth was about to destroy Steven, I totally understand on what the other characters felt due to the whole Pink and Rose situation, to the point that they can easily catch on of what Bismuth went through, and they are willing to invite Bismuth to the wedding, which leads to Steven coming up with a solution by having Bismuth give out 2 rings that she made to Ruby and Sapphire. If you ask me, Steven doing all this, especially knowing that Rose was Pink Diamond all along, sums up a lot that with him being himself in this scenario before what he ends up becoming in future, you can't tell me that he wasn't prepared with the unexpected when it comes to proposing Connie in future, because for how he sets up this wedding, it really feels like that he's still in his happy self when it comes to having Ruby and Sapphire stay together forever, because if he didn't set up this wedding, then I can guarantee you that Garnet would not be in the position on being healthier like she was in previous seasons, and even though that she was happy, at the very least, Ruby and Sapphire weren't married during those seasons up until the following episode. Some people just do not like the talking it out thing when it comes to Steven doing in these scenarios, but the thing is, this is still fiction, and even though that elements in this show do happen in real life when it comes to character relationships and toxic relationships, at the same time, if this was realistic too much, then the whole crystal gems thing and the diamonds thing wouldn't be realistic at all. Look, just because that this show can be a little too kiddie at times, and I do mean KIDDY, I don't have anything against it. And I'm gonna discuss some of those elements in Change Your Mind. Even though that I'm fully aware that this episode could have been something else if Bismuth had more episodes, like I said earlier, this episode doesn't feel rushed, and for the pacing that it has, it's done well. So I'm giving this episode a 7.5 out of 10.